What's going on, YouTube? This is the SmallTown Collectibles YouTube channel. I'm Jimmy Kerr, and this is another episode of 10 Questions. Today, I met with Taylor Winder, who is hands down one of my favorite YouTubers. Great personality, just a bunch of fun to watch. His natural personality is really engaging and funny. He's a funny guy. I really dig him. He is a realtor. He's an artist. He enjoys comic books. He puts together mystery boxes. He's a true Renaissance man. I should have told him that. You're a true Renaissance man, Taylor. But no, it was a lot of fun, like as much fun as I've had sitting down and talking to somebody. Just an absolute ball. So, guys, sit back, relax, and enjoy 10 Questions with Taylor Winder. Taylor Winder, thank you for coming on 10 Questions. How you doing today, brother?
I'm well, Jimmy. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it being here. You know, I've got coffee. I didn't have too much whiskey last night, so I'm good to go.
Well, do you have your pants on? That's the important thing.
As far as you know, yes.
Right. Well, I'm also on my coffee. I'm hoping I've had enough to make these questions make sense. So normally the first question I ask is, how did you get your handle? But I'm assuming your mom and dad just said, "Hey, Taylor is a cool name. I'm going to call him."
Just my first and last name. Feel free to stalk me, people. I live in Wisconsin. It's not that interesting.
So, question one.
Yeah.
And I always find this interesting. Like, who or what got you into collecting? Like, what was there somebody in your life, or was it just the art that drew you in?
Well, there's two phases of my collecting. The first phase, I was burned pretty badly when I was about 13 years old, and I was in the hospital and I couldn't move. And so, what I didn't realize then, but I know now, is like everybody that came and visited me stopped at the gift shop, right? And they just didn't know what to get me. So there was a spinner rack there of comics. And then it was back when newsstand was still a thing. And so they'd always bring me up a pile of comics to read. And it was great because it helped pass the time. And I kind of like really fell into, collecting there and learned to love some of the characters. Like Alpha Flight and X-Men were my two big ones back then because that's what was on the rack, apparently. And then I collected pretty steadily actually through college. Well, it took a little bit of a break in college, but then, and then I bought a house and I kind of got away from it all. And I moved across country, moved a couple times, and my collection got wrecked. It got all water damaged and moldy, and then I sold a bunch of it, so I had nothing. And then the coronavirus, and I was just bored. And I think like a lot of other people, I happened to look on Facebook Marketplace, and somebody selling a lot of used comics, and I'm like, well, I'll throw a mask on and go see. And this was like in February or March, and so I did not actually come into it via YouTube, which a lot of the other people did. I just started buying random stuff from people selling stuff off of Facebook. And then I looked into YouTube and stuff, and that's how I got into that. But yeah, I just kind of needed something semi-productive to pass the time when I was quarantined or staying home like a good law-abiding citizen.
Right.
So.
Well, no, and I find that interesting because it's surprising. Like I have an eBay store. I've had an eBay store for a long time because I've piddled around with this stuff forever. And I've had the biggest year on eBay I've ever had. And it's because people are bored and they don't have anything to do. And they're buying comic books or they're buying trading cards or putting sets together. It's kind of interesting because do you think that there's like a bubble burst kind of thing happening where after, COVID, we kind of hopefully we'll get back to normal pretty soon. Do you think that bubble will burst somewhat?
I think it's some part of it will. I think it's reawakened in some of the core folks, but I think it's going to cool off. Yeah, I don't think it's going to continue the upward trend. I don't think, no one's going to be buying 4,000 Venom variants next year. It's just not going to happen.
Right. So you mentioned question two is, and you mentioned X-Force and X-Men as a book that you kind of got into reading.
Sure.
Do you have a favorite character or characters that you like to collect?
Yeah, my absolute favorite is probably Beta Ray Bill. I just love the wackiness of him. But then I tend to go for the wackier characters. Like Moon Knight is another one. And on the DC side, like Mr. Miracle and, there's just a bunch of, and like one of my grails, which we'll get to, is the first appearance of Doom Patrol. Because, it's just the wackiness of it all. And
you watch that show?
What's that?
Do you watch that Doom Patrol show?
I watched the first season of it. I've not seen the second. I just didn't pay for it. So,
right. I thought it was good. I liked it.
I enjoyed the first season. Yeah. And, but my favorite is Beta Ray Bill. When Walt Simonson introduced him back in Thor, I was like, oh man, like this is great. It's just weird and shoulder patty and Norse gods and space and had everything I wanted in escapism in comics, and I still kind of like him. I hope the MCU doesn't wreck him, but whatever. So,
I hope not so too, because I like him as a character as well.
yeah.
Beta Ray Bill, I really do. I have always, and I always say this on here, I feel like I say the same stuff over and over again, but Superman is my favorite. But the reason, and also Captain America, but number one, it's all I had to watch growing up. But two, Superman came from a small town in Kansas. I live in a small town. Like there is, I don't know, the truth, justice, and American way. I had a very patriotic father who, and so that's really what kind of brought me up. And I love Superman. I just thought he was the greatest thing. I used to tell my parents that if I had on a cape, I could get on the roof and jump off, and I was pretty sure I could fly.
That's awesome. You should have tried it.
No, they wouldn't let me. I probably would have. So question 3 is, and you kind of mentioned, what are your personal grails? Like, is there something out there that you haven't been able to get yet that you want?
There's always, I could always chase down something, but I'm trying to fill a Sandman run, the Neil Gaiman, that's my kind of indie run. I've been lucky enough to get a few of them gifted to me as AOKs and stuff, which is phenomenal. This community is weird and amazing and awesome.
Yeah, man.
But as far as anything else goes, the first appearance of Moon Knight, the Werewolf by Night 32, but that's on my price range right now. And first Doom Patrol, also on my price range. And yeah, there's a few. Those are probably the two I can think of off the top of my head. Journey into Mystery 83, the big bad boy that watched the first Thor. So
right, yeah, not anything too big.
No, I would love. Don't get me wrong, I'd love a giant size X-Men #1 or X-Men 94 as well, but they're a little bit lesser tier for me. I don't know why, they just are. So yeah.
So from the character standpoint, unlike the book, is it the art that draws you to those guys? Is it the writing, or is it a combination of both?
I love the collaborative nature of comics. I think it's unique in that way. It's kind of like a movie or a play in that all the pieces have to work in order for it to be a good thing.
Right.
So you can enjoy the story and hate the art, and you're gonna fall away from it. You can love the art and hate the story, which is called the 90s. But to get the right balance of everybody playing nice and everything working, I think is fascinating to me. And
no, I agree. And sometimes I'll find myself, I almost have to read a comic book 2 or 3 times because I like the story. Right. Yeah. For me, it's as much about the story as it is anything. But I'll have to go back and look at the art too, and then almost read it again to try to pull it all together, because I get so into the story itself that sometimes I feel like I'm just reading the little bubbles and going through it.
I think that's kind of good. That it means the art's doing its job and is turned invisible. It's bad art when it jars you out of the story. I think.
Yeah.
What's going on, and you have to go back and be like, oh, that still doesn't make sense. That it's not how it should be drawn, or that's. Yeah.
That's a great point though, and that's what you said with the whole collaboration of the two things.
Yeah.
Is, if you're right, if the art's so jarring that it brings you out of the story, then that's a problem. But if you can just read the story and flow through, then it's absolutely done its job.
Yeah, that's what I think. And honestly, you'll never notice a letterer unless they do a bad job. That's what
right.
Nobody pays any attention to what the letterer is doing unless you're like, what is that word and why is it like that? And
why does it look that way? Yeah.
Yeah. So
no, yeah, that's funny. So question 4, and honestly, dude, and I'm not just saying this because you're on here. You are one of my favorite watches on YouTube.
Oh boy.
I always like to, when your lives pop up, I'm always looking for it. My wife is, who is that guy? I was Wes Taylor. He's in Wisconsin. Good guy.
I get all the time. Who the hell is that guy?
Who is that guy? Yeah. But now, why did you start a YouTube channel? Was it COVID boredom?
No, I actually had. Well, I started about a year before. And if you go back, my videos are all there, all the warts and all. And I started as a hodgepodge where I didn't know what I was doing. I have a couple art making videos. I've got some random life tips, which looking back are pretty funny and ironic. And, I've got some where I'm just walking my damn dog. And I was just kind of experimenting to see what fit. And then I started doing science fiction book reviews. Nobody read them. Nobody watched the vids. Nobody, they still have maybe 50 views, maybe. And they've been up for a year and a half. So I clearly didn't know what I was doing. And then the COVID boredom reinvigorated me. And I opened a mystery box. I opened a comic book campaign. I had to look back and check and see what my first mystery box was. And that was, all of a sudden, people started paying attention. And, I'm nothing if not a publicity fiend. No, I just I thought, I was I could do this. And I liked the video part of it. I just didn't know what I was going to eventually focus on. And I thought, I could probably turn comics into something that's got some legs. And so far, it's been working out.
Yeah, man, it's great. I mean, really, the content's good. And, I've said it before. You're brutally honest, which is refreshing to me. And
I never thought of myself as that. I just kind of was like, well, I'll give
this is what I think.
And like, it just flows out of my mouth, which is
right. Well, no, I mean, I think that's why it works, though, is because like most of us that are doing these channels, I mean, like I said, hell, I started opening mystery boxes, and I've loved everything. I don't care how crappy it was. I thought it was the best thing I'd ever seen in my life. I was just excited to be doing the channel, right? So, and then I found you, and I was like, well, that's refreshing because you're getting a real look. I would think people who are really looking into mystery boxes, who would want to say, hey, does mainstream comics put out a good mystery box?
Sure.
Would be much better served by looking at your channel and saying, okay, yeah, it's not bad, but I wasn't overwhelmed with what I got.
Well, then, because I must have lucked out because the third box I opened was Torpedo and it was garbage, and so that was and I didn't plan on making this video as negative as it was, but that box is horrible, and so it's just kind of like, well, I'll leave it up and see what happens, and that I guess maybe turn the corner for me, but like, well, yeah, why blow smoke up somebody's, if it's not deserved. Now at the same time, I do try and find positive on most things. I really do. It just doesn't always work. So.
No, you do. I mean, but like I said, it's for the most part though, it's a good, honest assessment of what you're opening, and that's the part I dig about it. So, question 5 is this, and this was really a question I had made up for DJ Links, but nice. I'm going to use it with you too.
All right, sweet.
How did you get those top level editing skills?
Honestly, if you go back and look at my first year of vids before I started doing the comic stuff, I actually did edit. I had like background music and like intros and outros and stuff. And then I started doing these things like 4 days a week. And I'm like, I don't have to, if I start doing that, it's going to take me all damn day to do that. And I'd much rather just make the content throw it into the wild and see what happens. And I've kind of learned, and my inspiration on this is Jem Mint. I don't think he edits very much. I know he does a bit, more than I do, definitely. But he uses iMovie. He doesn't have an intro, really, and he just kind of like speaks. I'm like, I can do that. So that's right. kind of where that ended. That's why. And I every once in a while, if I make like a recorded video, I might edit, but and I probably should at some point because my viewership has slowed down a bit. But whatever, I'll get to it. I would probably transition and do a few more like trade paperback reviews and stuff, and those I record instead of doing it live because I don't want the distraction of the audience.
Right.
And those I might edit a little.
What do you have a preference though? Like in channels that you actually watch, do you have a preference versus an edited or a more natural feel?
No, as long as the person I'm watching is engaging and is honest, I don't care. Like I can edit all day. Like I love DJ Links, and he definitely edits and stuff, but he's honest about what he does, and he presents it in a different way than I do, which is great. And you do as well. Like, you're much more upbeat than I do. Like you need like a daisy in your hair or something. but I think that where it works and it's great. And as long as somebody comes across as genuine, that's all I care about. I don't care if they're how edited it is or whatnot. The only thing that I do care about, and I try to make sure on my end, which doesn't always work, is like if it's distracting, I try and get rid of it. Like I don't want like bad sound. I think that is distracting, and like bad lighting can be a bit distracting. Like this light up here is driving me nuts, but I'm in a basement, and there's nothing I can do about it right now. So
right,
But other than that, as long as somebody comes across as them being truthful, that's all that matters.
Well, I kind of feel the same way. The guys that I seem to be, I don't like over edited.
Yeah,
but I like what DJ Links does is perfect in my opinion. I mean, it's a beautiful look. And then he is just super cool. Like and when I interviewed him, dude, he is just a cool cat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it was a lot of fun. All right. So question 6 is, and it's kind of a 2-parter. Since you started, like, what has the community meant to you? And then do you have like a favorite comment? Like, has there been a comment from the community that you're like, whoa, that's cool?
Comment? I'm going to answer it in reverse. Not really, but like the gestures that the community has done, it has blown me away. Like Slotted Up, Gary B, was the first AOK I ever received. I think he's everybody's first AOK. That guy sends out more books than anybody I've ever met.
He really does, man.
And they're great. And it's just kind of like unexpected, like what it's like a good punch to the gut. You're like, oh,
sure,
people are watching, and like somehow I really affected them enough that like they want to give me this gesture, which is really kind of amazing. And so that like Gary B sent me a bunch of books. He wasn't interested in a lot of DC stuff because for whatever reason he hates DC. And hi Gary, and, I know he'll watch this. And but then it slotted up. Like I think I mentioned once that I was like looking for a Sandman #1, and this was before Slot had a YouTube channel or anything really going. He's like, "Hey, can I send you a book?" And I'm like, "Sure." And so he sent me a slabbed Sandman #1, which is a very valuable book. And I'm like, "You sure, man?"
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it was a really nice feeling and awkward. It's like I'm not a great gift receiver, I guess, because it's like,
sure.
Thanks. Like it feels like, why me? is the question that you keep rolling around the back of my head. But
well, absolutely. Well, like I said, the first AOK I ever got was from Slot.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know what an AOK was.
Yeah,
I was like, he said, "Hey, I'm going to send you an AOK. Is that cool?" And I was like, "Well, what's an AOK? I'm not sure." So, but it is. And like, it almost like, I mean, I am kind of sappy. I'm not going to joke. It'll eventually really come out on my channel. I can't help it, especially around the holidays. I'm just that guy.
Sure.
But like it almost, when I got it and I opened it, like I almost cried. I was like, wow, this is the nicest thing anybody's ever done for me. Like, that's really cool that you think enough of me to send me a set of books from across the country.
Oh yeah. And it ties into the community. Like the people I've met, almost without fail, have been fantastic.
Yeah.
I think like in every video I've done, everything else I've done, I've only had one semi-negative comment. I mean, I get some thumbs downs, but I'm sure I've pissed some people off.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
I can probably figure out who that is. But it's just, I look forward to making the videos. I look forward to watching the videos. I look forward to interacting, and talking with the people, and having conversations with people that are genuinely interested in the same kind of thing I am. And I think when you can't hang out in person and do it, there's no conventions, there's social distancing. It's been a lifesaver, almost literally,
Sure.
And like something to look forward to each and every day. Whereas for a while there, it's like you're just trudging through life when I'm a fairly social beast. I like to get out and talk to people. I like to interact. Like I like to go to a bar and have a beverage, talk to strangers, just kind of couldn't do any of those things. It was all kind of on hold. And I also go to the coffee shops too, by the way, not just bars, not just whiskey people, but and so this community has been fantastic. There's a little bit of snarkiness that happens once in a while, and I'm guilty of it myself. I try not to be, but on the whole, it's been like beyond my wildest dreams, and it has nothing to do with like channel growth or anything like that. It's just the connections and the friendships.
It really is, man. Like that is, and I say it over and over. I can't believe that I have become friends with people through a YouTube channel.
Oh yeah.
Like I am legit friends with Gary B and Slot. I mean, I talk to them all the time, and I love them both. They're two of the nicest people that I've ever met. And like I said, getting to know you here today, I got to know DJ Links. I mean, I just can't believe, because I'm like you, dude. I am social. I like to shake hands with somebody. I want to give them a hug. I'm a hugger. It's just who I am. And this has been a great outlet just to get to know some people.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to I'm a closet optimist. Don't tell anybody. But I'm looking forward to a future where we can all get together and meet at a convention, because everyone's from such different walks of life and from such different parts of the world. It's just kind of, it'd be really interesting to get everybody in the same room.
Me too, dude. I mean, I think that is fun. That thought has crossed my mind too. Is like, find a convention somewhere. Let's all just meet.
Yeah.
And and go hang out and buy some books and have a bourbon, whatever. I'm from Kentucky, so it's about bourbon. But I think that's awesome, dude. I think that's a great idea. Is there anything? So just real quick, is there anything negative about the community? Like anything that you would change?
I mean, no, not really. I mean, there's minor little things that you can always probably nitpick on. Like people get snarky if they don't win stuff or whatever. And like, I mean, I have a T-shirt that says rigged. So like, I mean it in jest, but like watching people get like literally like annoyed when they don't win a giveaway, that bugs me a bit. But that's just that's humanity.
Well, that kind of bugs me too. I mean, you know what it is, right? It's a giveaway. There's a slim chance you're going to win.
Yeah, it's like if I got mad every time I didn't win the lottery, like, but that's probably about it. And that's not everybody by any means. And also the people that get mad, I don't interact with usually anyways. So it doesn't really affect my life.
Right. So question 7 is, we open mystery boxes on camera.
Yeah.
And sometimes review them or critique them. Like, to you, what's like the perfect mystery box? Like, what's a mystery box that you really like?
Okay.
Not one. I mean, of course, we all want like the big hit,
Yeah.
But like just a good mystery box.
A good mystery box, and this is tricky because I've thought about this a lot. I think a good mystery box from the buyer's end should be worth more than you paid for it, because I think otherwise you can just go buy the books on your own.
Right.
It's tricky to do from a financial standpoint on the other end of things.
I
think it should have very little filler, like unless it's got like a first appearance or some value or a cool cover at the very least. And I think it should have interesting books. So those are the 3 big things. If I'm adding the 4th thing, having a chance at a bigger prize is always nice. But I think that the first, the being worth a little bit more than you paid for it, and being interesting are the 2 key things. Like and I get every box has filler. I'm guilty of it myself. I made a box and I realize it's hard to do. But I think, having some kind of pleasant surprise in every box is a good thing. So
yeah, I mean, it really is. I know I bought one of your first mystery boxes. I loved it. Like, I thought it was a great box. Like, it had a lot of variety. It had some cool covers. It had, and now I'm not going to keep every book.
Sure.
There's a handful of books I'm going to keep. Yeah. There is, but that's kind of the name of the game, right? There will be some things that you want.
Yeah.
But like, I've been trying to put together, and I sent you guys something to look at, a little run. It's really hard.
I think I recognize a few of the books in there.
Yeah. Well, you would. I mean, that's what I'm saying. But it's much harder to do.
Yeah.
Than I expected it to be.
Yeah. There's a guy. Okay. 100% frankness. I did not love the gentleman's mystery box I got from him, but Michael Ackrey has a channel, and like his theory of putting together boxes, I think, is great. And so I watched that and I tried to learn from it. And he just would like have books stacked up by value and kind of pull from each of them until he got like well above what the box was worth. Whether or not he did on the last round of boxes, sorry, Mike, not sure you did. But but I really enjoyed the video content, and I enjoy your video, sir. So cheers on that one. but yeah, I think like that's one method of doing it that I think works pretty well, and I think a couple other people have started swiping that from him, and I think it's a good way because you just set like the really valuable stack and the medium stack and the small stack, and you just kind of build the box from there until you get the right balance. And I think it is an art. I really do.
Well, there is. I know that's kind of how I did it was, I took last sale or different things. I use Key Collector app a lot, and I've kind of separated them out, by value. And then when I was looking at them, I said, okay, I don't want it to be too DC heavy. I want it to be kind of a mix, because what I like, because I actually like to read the books, right? That's really, for me, what comics are. It's much less about the art and those things as it is the story. And being able to, I look for things to read. Like, I find a book and maybe it's a part of the story, but I'm like, oh, that was cool. And I'll go get the trade and read it. And for me, that's as much as anything what it's about.
Yeah. And, it's a trick. You're not going to please everybody. Like, there's no way of doing that, I think. And it is the internet. So, welcome to that. But,
right.
But I think it can be, you can come close. And I think, if you're making boxes, and this is going to be a kick in the balls for some people. Pardon my language. I'm trying to be PG here, but that's probably PG-13. Sorry. Oh, you can edit that out. You can edit.
No, I can edit it, right? Yeah. I'm not going to, Taylor. It's fine.
I think if you're putting together a box to sell, you have to be willing to lose money on it. Because, and if you do it a certain way, it's money you've already spent and you've already lost, unless you're buying books just to put in boxes. Then maybe it's a different demon. But like, my theory was like, okay, I've already spent this money. They're not books I collect, but I know there's value here. If I can get them to other people and have them be happy with it, then I've done my job. And so, So you're losing money on the boxes, but you also hopefully make the community happy, and it's another way to interact.
Well, it is, and for me, the way I look at it is, just from a business standpoint, it's not cheap, dude, making these videos.
Oh no. Yeah.
And the money's got to turn.
Yeah.
And I don't want to spend $1,000 a month on boxes. I want to, and like if I do a mystery box run,
Yeah.
it's mainly just to kind of get books to people that might appreciate them. If they don't, they'll turn around and do the exact same thing, and that's fine. But it keeps the money churning, and the cost of my video went from $100 to $15.
Have you ever done a YouTube auction?
I have not.
That's another thing that maybe you want to think about, just to, because it's a way of like getting some money back, and then you can put together like smaller sets of things to like see if people want to buy them and stuff.
So that's cool.
You should join us.
Well, I might do that sometime. Yeah, it's as I kind of learn, what I'm doing, because it's been a long time really since I was in the game. I started reading, but this is a new thing for me as far as having a YouTube channel and even really putting myself out there. Although I don't shut up, I talk all the time. But, it's one of those things where it's kind of new and I'm kind of working my way through, but I think what you all do with the auctions, because I'll watch those. I don't normally comment on them because I'm not necessarily going to buy anything, but I like to watch and listen to you guys BS. So,
fun. Yeah. That's another fun part about it is if you're on the panel, you can BS with everybody else. And
I think that's the best part of it.
That's more fun than selling a lot of the time. But if you can turn it around and make a little bit of money back, then it also helps.
Absolutely. So this is question 8, but it's probably the one that I'm the most interested to ask you.
Yeah.
Okay. And one of the things about your mystery box was great. Like I thought I got my value. I got a lot of interesting, cool books. I've already read every single book that was in there.
Nice. Wow.
And then turned them. Of course, you saw some of the books went into a mystery box that I'm going to put out.
Yeah.
But they're books that I'm not necessarily going to keep. I want to pass them on. But one of the things, I got a piece of original art from you.
Yeah.
And, in kind of learning more about you and following you, you have a website, taylorwinder.com.
I do.
Where you have a lot of your art on there. But you have an interesting style, man. And I wanted to talk a little bit about your art, like where that started from. Like how old were you, 3, and all of a sudden you started painting? Or did it just end up one day you were like, you know what, I think these comic books are cool. I want to draw this, and bam, there you go.
The first thing I remember drawing, and my mother had to help refresh my memory of this back when she was around, was Batman when I was 5. It was not a very good drawing, but she put it on the fridge anyway, so it's all her fault. Of course,
yes.
Yeah. A lot of my style, I guess, doesn't come from comics. There's some. There's a couple comic guys that I really enjoy and probably do, and definitely do influence me, like Bill Sienkiewicz and Dave McKean drawing work. Not so much his assemblages and stuff, but he's got a drawn fluid style that I really appreciate. And those are probably the 2 big hitters from the comic book world. But then, like Gustav Klimt, Egon Schiele, and then Basquiat and Cy Twombly. These are all like traditional artists that I really emulate. They have nothing to do with comics. I don't think they've ever made a comic in their life, but I really appreciate a lot of their mark making and some of their figurative stuff. Like Schiele was like turn of the century guy that did really elongated, weird, twisty figures that are great. And Klimt, everyone probably knows from the Kiss. That's the most famous. Wait, does that count? Yeah, whatever. And Schiele. And there's just so many out there that are like traditional artists that I'd probably steal from more than comic books. And it's stealing. It's you wear your influences on your sleeve. If you
of course you do.
It's a great artist. Good artists borrow, great artists steal. I'm not a great artist, but I'm a great thief. So.
Well, true. All of us. I don't care what you do.
Yeah.
My channel, I play a little bit of music intro in. That's the kind of music I dig. That's what I like.
Yeah. And so I try and make, if I'm making a piece, I conscientiously try and make it not super traditional comic book me, because it's not my forte. And I'm like, well, this will maybe at least surprise other people a little bit. And so, that's, but there's a lot of great like 1920s, 1930s artists and earlier that really were into mark making. And that's back right when cameras started to get were first invented. Realism stopped being so important in art, and so I really appreciate that era where people would be a little bit more expressionistic and stuff, because they could. They didn't have to like use it to try and capture a scene. They could use it to like express emotions and stuff. And that really appealed to me. And that era of art really appeals to me. So, yeah.
Did your style, has it kind of evolved over time? Did it start out as one thing and it's kind of become this, or was it always kind of in that genre?
It's evolved. I mean, it might be easier for me to think that it's evolved anyways. I think if you look at it from the outside looking in, it's always been kind of loose and sketchy and kind of mark making-y, but it's definitely evolved. And I'd like to think for the better, but there's days where I'm like, well, nope, that's awful. So I think that happens to every artist. I think you have to change or you're going to get bored with it. And so you have to like try new things and try experimenting and be ready to fail. If you're scared to fail as a painter or an artist or writer or whatever, I don't think you're ever going to make anything good. I think you have to like just be aware of the fact that things might go horribly wrong, and that's okay. But I think you have to also change or die. That's kind of. I made a book, not to ramble on too much, but I made a book where I made a piece of art every day for a year, and by the end of that year, it was a grind, and I learned a lot, and I think I made some okay stuff, but I also at the end of that year, I'm like, okay, I learned different lessons than I thought I would, and I also learned that I needed to give myself time to process and time to take breaks, and that wasn't part of the challenge I'd set up for myself. So I don't know. That doesn't necessarily answer your question, but
no. I mean, but I find that interesting.
Around the answer.
Well, no, but I find that interesting that you would, It's funny. Sometimes you do things like you said. You did a piece of art every day for a year. Yeah. And then by the end, the lessons that you learned were completely different, really, than you thought. And I'm sure it had a positive impact on what you did after that because you had a little better idea now of what you really like to do, maybe. Or or what worked for you from an artistic standpoint.
I did, and then I also learned I really needed a damn break.
Right? Yeah, I'm done. That was the dumbest idea I've ever had. Yeah.
I mean, and then I realized how stubborn I am. So I did another year where I did another piece of art every day, but I didn't make a book out of it because the making the book was almost more exhausting than making the art.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Well, is that the book that Gary B bought?
It is, yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's interesting. Like I said, that was really kind of where it started for me. But I know when I got the mystery box, and I heard Slot say this too, his favorite thing was the print. I said, and I got that art, and I was like, damn, that is nice, man. That was just really cool to me.
Oh, thanks, yeah.
To have something from you, because I like watching you and something that came out of your brain and ended up on a piece of paper. I just think that's neat.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. I think my next box is if I do another round. I'm planning on it, but I'm not going to do one every 2 weeks as some people do. I can't. I don't have the resources. But I think my next round I'll probably focus more on the art and make that kind of a little more front and center. But this time around, I wanted it to be a surprise. But I think next time I'll be like, here's some of the art you might get, and if you're interested, that's cool. If not, I might not be the box for you. So.
Well, it was one. I mean, and it made it unique. Like there's a guy. I don't know if you know him, Digger Jim.
I know Digger Jim, yeah.
Okay, so Digger Jim, he likes to go out and, do the metal detecting and find things, and he has coins, and he put coins in some of his. I didn't get one of the boxes, but I saw them in videos. I think that's neat. It's a little something different.
Yeah. I didn't have the money to buy one of his boxes at the time because it was right when I was putting mine together, and I was so strapped just getting mine going that I couldn't. I regret it because he had some cool boxes. And Jim, if you're watching this, I'll get you next time around.
Me too, because I missed it too.
Yeah, and my dad's an avid metal detector. He's actually out metal detecting right now in 40-degree Wisconsin weather. And he'll come back. It's like, I found $1.05 today. I'm like, good on you, Dad.
Yeah.
It passes the time for him, and he loves it, and it's super great. And he's got this whole community of YouTubers he watches that are all like hunting for the treasure and stuff. So
sure.
I think it's great. Everyone, 2020 has been a kick in the everything for everybody. But I think at the same point in time, it's been great for platforms like YouTube where everyone can find their own interest. And if you feel lost, you find, like my dad found a community of metal detectors, which is a whole different community other than Digger Jim. He might be the one bridge. But yeah,
right.
Sorry, again, I hijacked it in a direction that's not.
Well, that's all right. That's my favorite part about this because I mean, really, as far as for me, I've always kind of had comic books and like to read, but as far as a collecting standpoint, I mean, again, it's one of those things where I have most of what I want. Sure. And if I want something, I'll go buy it. But I've kind of developed something else to collect, and it's art from all these different artists that I'm meeting through the community. And it kind of helps you support them, but then you get something unique as a collection, and that is, all their different portrayals and their styles of my favorite characters. So,
yeah, that's the other. I collect comics, but I want to get back more into collecting art from other folks as well. I've got a stack of it. I don't. The problem is I don't have room to hang it all, but that's okay.
Sure.
Like I can have a rotating collection, but yeah, there's definitely some artists, and some are comic book related, some aren't, that I really want to get some of their pieces of too. So, but also not a cheap thing, which is
right. Sure. Yeah.
Which I get, and you got to pay artists for their time. You can't pay with exposure. You can't pay with anything else because everyone's got to eat. and I have no problem supporting other artists that way. It's just I don't have the funds to do it all the time. But when I do, I like to. So yeah.
All right. So question 9, and I know the answer to this, but I think people will find this interesting. What do you do for a day job?
Realtor. Yeah.
How'd you get into the real estate game?
Well, it turns out I couldn't sell enough art to make a living.
Right? Yeah, starving artist, so I got to go sell some property.
Clearly not starving, but some of that might be bourbon and bacon related, the non-starving part. But yeah, I needed to find some way to pay some bills. So I worked for a company called Redfin for a while, and did that route, which is weird. It's a little bit different than traditional real estate, and not to bore everybody to tears, but most realtors are independent contractors, which I am now. And Redfin, you're an employee, and you have benefits like healthcare and stuff, but you have to it's a base salary, and you have to earn your keep the closing deals, and it's a grind, and it'll exhaust you. But you learn amazingly very quickly whether or not you're good at it. And yeah, I think I'm good at it. It's just now I'm the independent contractor route, which is good and bad. You make more money potentially. You have to hustle your own clients and stuff, and I'm not your traditional realtor necessarily. Amazingly enough, not everybody in Appleton wears a fedora and a t-shirt that says "Don't be a dick." So, right. And that's okay. You don't need to be. Everyone has their own niche, and if you can talk to people, you can be a realtor because most of it's just talking. Most of it's allaying other people's fears and being the calm voice of reason throughout what can be a nasty mess sometimes.
Sure. Well, and also I would imagine, if you sell property, it's a grind like anything else is. Yeah. But I'm sure there's times where it still allows time for you to explore your art and to do some other things.
It does. And I can most of the time, unless you're in the middle of an amendment or a contract thing, you're not doing real estate work at 9 o'clock at night and stuff. So
right.
I have time to do it. Unless you have to bug a non-communicative mortgage lender and ask for updates.
Well, look, that never happens to me because I am the exact opposite of that. Yeah. Thank you. No. No, well, when I found out you were a realtor, I said, well, that makes sense, actually, and I thought, that's no wonder I like that guy. Because but mostly I work with the type of realtors that are like you, that are independent contractors, so to speak, so.
The majority of us, we're all.
Yeah.
We're like ambulance chasers. If we smell like somebody's buying or selling, business cards come flying out, and yeah.
So last question, Taylor. I've really enjoyed this, and maybe this is the most important question to me on the list, because you can see behind me, I'm clearly a sports fan, yeah. Obviously a Kentucky fan.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite sports team?
Oh yeah, the Green Bay Packers. I'm born and raised Wisconsin. I've lived all over Wisconsin, and I know some people, when they move, they switch fandoms. I don't understand that. It's beyond me. It's beyond my comprehension. I'm always a Packer fan. I always will be a Packer fan. I've got season tickets. I grew up watching them. It's just in my blood. At college, not so much. I didn't go to a college that had a football team. I didn't, and our basketball team was hot garbage back in the day, and I don't care to follow them. It just doesn't. But the Packers have always been, Green Bay is 90,000 people, and there's nothing else to damn do there except for watch the Packers. And I live 25 minutes away in a smaller town, and so Sundays it all shuts down. Even if the Packers are awful, you watch you want to have an open house as a realtor where nobody shows up. You schedule it during a Packer game. It doesn't.
Yeah. Well, the Packers. I watched the Packers for a long time, and the reason why is because Randall Cobb.
Oh yeah.
Was from Kentucky. So, and he's probably my favorite Kentucky football player of all time. In my office, at my mortgage office, there is a photo of Randall Cobb running the ball in a Green Bay Packers uniform.
Oh, that's awesome. He's a Cowboy now, right?
Yeah, he is. No, he's a Texan. He ended up going to the Texans. Yeah. So for me, you know, like living in Kentucky and where I live, you know, we do not have a professional team. It's very much it's rural. There's nothing around.
Yeah.
And so you either have the Bengals or Cincinnati, you know, Reds, like for baseball.
Sure.
They're about 2.5 to 3 hours away, or you got the Steelers, and they're about 6 hours away. So
yeah.
we always kind of gravitated to the Bengals, and they suck, of course.
Yeah.
But now we've got Joe Burrow, which things, you know, he got hurt, but
you got some optimism there for the future. Plus, the Steelers are hot garbage. Sorry, Jay Blitz.
He would argue that they're undefeated.
Well, yeah, they are, but you know, like everything else in life,
still hot garbage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, and the Steelers too. Like, I don't have like probably the Bengals that I watch and cheer for, but really for us, it's about who played for Kentucky and where do they play now.
Yeah.
And so the same thing with like the NBA. You've got all these, you know, Kentucky guys in the NBA, and I watch those teams. So anyway, so Taylor, that's the 10 questions, brother. That's what I got. But I do want to give you a second to kind of talk about where people can find your art, where they can find you on social media, those things.
Sure. My social media is there. Empty Thought Balloon. That's my Instagram for comic books. I have one. My other art-ish one is Taylor Winder. My website is taylorwinder.com. I'm pretty easy. My YouTube channel is Taylor Winder. So if you want to watch me ramble live about comics and not edit anything, you can watch me there. And yeah, that's kind of about it. I sell lovely shirts that say things like "Don't be a dick," because I think that's really the one commandment you need in life. If you follow it, everything else falls into place. So that's. But yeah, it's been fun being on here, Jimmy. I appreciate it. I'm glad I got
to man. Cool, brother. And I appreciate you agreeing to come on. Like I said, dude, I really enjoy watching your channel. I love your content. Love your, you know, I like listening to you get on there and talk to everybody. You know, when you're answering the comments, it's just fun. Well, like last night, he took a shot at me last night. I didn't say anything because he said I bumped him for a bigger star, and I did.
Yeah, I got pushed back for a bigger star, folks. You can see. We'll see which video gets more views, though, huh?
Yeah. Right. That's right. You tell him, Taylor. You tell him. No,
it'll be the other person.
And of course, I will put all Taylor stuff down below. Like, you'll be able to see how do you do that, like right there.
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah.
I'll put all his contact info below so you can go seek him out. And I promise you won't be sorry. Taylor's a really fun follow. I know Slot told me that even before he started the channel, like, he found you and it just became one of his favorite channels.
Yeah, that's baffling to me. That's the part of this YouTube that's great, and I don't know how it works. If I knew the algorithm, I'd have at least 2 more followers.
Right. Well, I've studied the algorithm, and it's not helping me any right now. So, I mean, my channel continues to grow for some reason, but, you know,
that's good.
Yeah, it's because of people like you, though, and, you know, that go out and shout out and do the things that they do. So,
speaking of which, everybody we've mentioned in this video, go follow them. Gary,
absolutely.
Spotted Up, DJ Links, everybody else. Go follow everybody. So.
Yeah, go follow everybody, man. I said it's a lot of fun. They're all good. All their channels are good content. They're all a little bit different than what you'll see on my channel or Taylor's. But it's a huge amount of fun to watch them all. And I've gotten lucky and kind of fell in with this cool group of people. It's pretty much like everything else in my life. I just fell into it. And so now I'm going to try to take advantage of it. So, but Taylor, thank you so much, man, for coming on. I've really, really enjoyed this.
Well, thanks for having me.
Guys, absolutely. As I always end my videos, until next time, Mr. Winder.
Don't be a dick.
Love it.